Intro is fire, by the way.
Thank you. I love this song, man. It never fails. That's right. What's going on, everybody? I hope you find some peace of mind. It's your boy, Matty B, Epis Radio. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful metal and mental health Monday. I have a special guest here, a member of Shiv Nation. Very happy for him to be on. He's actually responsible for a lot of the original productions of my show. I'm sure you guys have seen it, that Epis Sports transition that looks like ESPN. He's helped me put together my original intros for the sports show and things like that. So it's great to finally have you on. My man, Pots and Pans, Ayaden Allen, known on Instagram. And again, like I said, member of Shiv Nation. What's going on, bro? How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. And yeah, I love what you've been doing, man. Honestly, it's great to see and to be a part of it at all. It means a lot.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Thank you for having me.
It was great seeing you recently, too. We don't really get to hang out much, and you came through for the Halloween party. That was awesome. I know you were a little bit on the fence whether or not you were coming through. Mm-hmm. You made my night just to see your face. So, I appreciate you for that, man. That was an excellent night. Excellent night
awesome.
indeed.
Very well done. Awesome. And not too far from me. So it actually really did work out very well. Yeah, it was great to be there.
I wanted to bring you on today. It was kind of an impromptu thing. So I appreciate you for being, just prompt and like ready to go on a dime. So that's cool. Thank you again for that. Why don't you, before we get into certain things, why don't you introduce yourself? You're also a streamer on Twitch, so just throw out your handle there for us. I don't know if it's the same handle that we have here on Instagram. I don't think so, right?
No, it isn't.
No. Okay, yeah. Just let the people know where you're coming from. Everybody in the chat, Nismo, Taskmaster, thank you for showing up. Appreciate you. The Shiv Nation's in the house this morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. I am Ayaden Allen. On Twitch, it's Ayaden Get Serious. I am a composer, a writer, and avid video game player, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I strive to be there for my friends and family and be accountable as possible. So this is a good fit, and I hope we can learn something and be of any help to anybody who needs it. That's why I'm here. Feeling a little nervous. But stop judging me. If anybody's ever seen my streams, there's only one rule. Stop judging me. All right.
No need to be, is a very serious one on that, Nismo says. There's no need to be nervous, bro. I always get the pre-show nerves too, but, we get through it. At the end of the day, man, it doesn't matter. People are going to judge us, good or bad, it doesn't matter. You gotta block out that noise. Like I've said in some of my previous mental health videos of the week, block out the noise, man. Just do what you gotta do. Show up for yourself at the end of the day, because that's all that matters. When you can do that on a daily basis, and obviously easier said than done. For me, and I'll kind of like preface this week's video. I mentioned 16-year-old me, and 16-year-old me, kind of moved, moved a whole lot differently than I move now, and just because in fear of what people may think of me, and just in fear of what might be said, and also for my own self, just some this odd complex of just fear of failure, like a fear to succeed as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is the case. It just was. And the way I coped with that at that age, and that's why I referenced that age, it was for me, it was substance abuse. It was kind of like that smoking gun time of my life where, I was doing anything and everything, at that time, to my detriment. And, not building myself up and really just, pissing away a lot of good potential years that could have otherwise gone, down a different path. I don't have regrets for it. It's something I've always said. I don't really regret any point in my life. It's made me who I am today.
Right.
But it's a journey, right? It's a constant journey. We're fighting against ourselves, and it doesn't stop. We just learn, I guess, how to maybe cope with it or have some coping mechanisms that might help us, block out that noise, like I said. Taskmaster says, not blocking out the love. Indeed.
Right.
Before we get a little bit deeper, let me pull up, because again, today, for those that are watching with us live, I have a bit of a strict time limit. I have an hour to go, okay, in terms of the show. I'm doing this during my wife's lunch break, and she is taking over the tasks of hanging out with the kids and dealing with them for the next hour. So squeezing this in. So I want to get to this week's mental health video of the week. All right, show you guys that real quick. And then we'll continue that discussion. Aiden, why is that not popping up there? Okay. All right, just popping this in. And here we go. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are our own worst enemy. 16-year-old me can never dream of the things I've accomplished in this past year. I'm super proud of my achievements, but I understand that there's more work to be done. We have to keep on pushing forward. We have to keep on showing up. You'll be surprised what you can do if you actually put your mind to it. It's so easy to give up. It's so easy to quit. But it feels so much sweeter when you actually stick to it and you come out on the other side. Surprising yourself in the process and achieving something you never once dreamed of. And it starts with you. Keep showing up. All right, one more time like we always do. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are our own worst enemy. 16-year-old me can never dream of the things I've accomplished in this past year. I'm super proud of my achievements, but I understand that there's more work to be done. We have to keep on pushing forward. We have to keep on showing up. You'll be surprised what you can do if you actually put your mind to it. It's so easy to give up. It's so easy to quit. But it feels so much sweeter when you actually stick to it and you come out on the other side. Surprising yourself in the process and achieving something you never once dreamed of. And it starts with you. Keep showing up. Keep showing up, baby. There you go. That's this week's mental health video of the week. If we do have time later on towards the end of the show, I'll kind of bring that back and show that again for you, for those that may be popping in later in the stream. And again, thank you everybody for watching live and in post. Appreciate you. Today we are simulcast on Twitch and YouTube. Finally got the YouTube stream working up again, so very happy about that. It's very finicky these days, so I don't know. Happy that we're able to accomplish that, and happy for you to join us. But again, if you're watching in post or live, please like, comment, follow, subscribe, the whole nine. Really helps the channel grow, and just means a lot to me. So appreciate you as always. Keep showing up. Aiden, like to hear your thoughts on the video. Whenever I do have a guest and on this show, I always like to hear their input on it. good, bad, whatever it is. Throw it at me, bro. Give me a little constructive criticism.
No, I think it's great. I appreciate the reflection on who you were and what's going on. How do I say it? All right. So you mentioned self-sabotage earlier. And then in the comments, Tassie even said, "Don't block out the love." And I appreciate that. But it's funny. It made me think, even then, too much of that, depending on upbringing or trauma or even worthiness that we may not feel, that could end up being a deterrence as well. So, your 16-year-old self, you striving to break barriers, you got medals in the back, medals around your chest. And what that makes me think of is another complex human experience is even with you literally wearing the medal around your chest, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's still a thought or a degree that could be in one's head that you're not capable of doing things when you have all the proof around you in the video and touching it. And it's like, I'm not sure why that is. You asked earlier, or you mentioned earlier, the reluctance or the disbelief that we may have, even if, depending on where we are in our stages. And it makes me wonder, do we want to be in a state of defeat? Are we more afraid to try because we know that the way these things work, if we were to equate them to a video game, once you beat this level, the next boss is going to be harder than the one that you just beat.
Right.
So
right.
to try is to know that it will never actually stop. And are we in a state of just wanting to be complacent because we know it's only uphill. However satisfying that next step may be, we are very reluctant to take it. And then when we take it, we're very grateful that we took it, but then we don't want to take the next one. So that's a long sentence or answer not made short. That's what it made me think of when I saw the video.
It's a great point because it just gets harder, right? Like it's never easier to do to achieve another goal or a milestone in life, whatever it is. I mean, for me, it may be running ultra marathons, but for you, it could be as a composer, creating more music or getting it out there, just hitting whatever goals and milestones you have in mind. There's work to be done, and in that work, it's uncomfortable. It's hard. It's relentless, and it's not easy. It's just and it's not, and oftentimes we get complacent. Why? Because it's the easier thing, and far too many times in my younger years did I just do the easier thing. I didn't want to, work hard, for it. And, I coped with that, with a lot of drug use because, that was easy too. Getting that feeling, getting that high and just, fuck it. Too easy, as a matter of fact. Just in this race alone that I just did this past weekend, going into it, I felt great. I felt healthy. I felt like I can, achieve anything. And right in the beginning of this race was a huge testament to my mental because, mile 8, right away, boom, I hit it hard, man. I ate it on a gravelly, boulder rooted path, just ate it face first, banged up the knee, hurt my hip. And in that moment, man, I kind of like ended up on my back. And if it wasn't for another, fellow runner stopping his momentum, picking me up, and giving me that little like 2-3 second of just motivation, like, you got this, keep it going. I don't know, like I genuinely, in that moment, I was just gonna lay there and say, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna stay here for a little bit. And when I got up, man, let me tell you, I didn't think I could go on for another 42 miles. There's just no way. You know, and that was the first thought that popped in my head. I was like, oh, that's it. It's over. Because now it just seemed too hard. It just seemed like, oh no, I can't do this. Immediately those doubts started to creep in. Somehow, some way, I had convinced myself to just keep going a little bit further. Just, keep on trying. I knew at that point where I was not 8 minutes, totally not 8 minutes, 8 miles away from getting to where, the start and finish line was, which was where my wife is and all my equipment and gear. So I still had 8 miles to get out of there, even if I wanted to like really quit, so, but, I had to walk it off a little bit. I walked for about a half a mile before I actually started trying to run again. Because let me tell you, I just didn't feel like I could. It hurt so bad, Aiden. I was literally, I felt broken in that moment. I felt like everything that I had trained for and I had done, it was all gone. And just the easier thing to do was quit on myself. And, I'm proud of myself that I stuck it in there and I just kept on going. When I finally did reach my wife, she'll tell you, I was emotional. I was just, one sentence away or one just phrase away from just breaking down emotionally. I even started to, cry amongst everything and just in that moment, like just, was shedding tears. And she, being, my best friend and the best wife possible, looked at me and told me, man, you got this. Just, keep on going. You got it. And, I just listened to her. I kept on moving forward and I did it. And, shit, man, took, little over 11 hours and, beat my personal record by over an hour and like,
Jeez.
I think, 10 minutes. And, that's what kind of inspired this week's mental video of the week. And it was tough, and it's just a culmination of everything, of what I've, worked for since being that, even that 13-year-old kid, the 16-year-old kid, the 19-year-old kid, the young father of 21 who didn't know what the hell he was doing and what, what path to take and or what to do, or just, felt like at that moment in time that was just pissing away my life, almost. I'm proud of myself today. I'm proud of myself to come up here and achieve that. And, I want to share that with others because, we all have different journeys. We all got to start somewhere. And, but one thing you can't do is quit on yourself. I talked about a former defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys that took his own life a couple of weeks ago, Marshawn Nealon. I spoke about that on a previous Mental Mondays with Epis, and that is something that I'm scared of, for my own younger self, and for those other people, especially this time around of the year, seasonal depression's kicking in for a lot of people. And it, that in itself is so scary and holds so much weight on a person. But one thing you cannot do is just quit on yourself. This life is far too worth it, and far too precious to take that route, and again, that can also seem like the easier way to go out and do things, and because again it takes work, it's hard, right? Any thoughts on it, Aiden?
Yeah, I decided to get my pen and paper and write down my certain thoughts. That's actually how I do it on my stream, and it's going to help here. One, I appreciate the transparency. There's accountability in your words and your actions, knowing you on and off the stream. And I said before we started getting to know you, I started an introduction to Zero on your mom, and it's just great to see your energy in your own right. When you mentioned the gentleman or the raid runner, you didn't actually say gender, helping you to get up, just saying a few words. It's like, having the right people around you is what made me think of that.
It was
the
actually two
brain.
people, actually, a male and female. They were running together, and the male had picked me up, but they both kind of encouraged me along and all that, and then it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment, I tell you. Yeah.
And I think that when I have these kind of conversations, mainly with Zero, we really get to the nitty gritty, the existentialism of it all, and not necessarily coming to a conclusion at the end of the day, but just having an understanding of what's going on or what we perceive to be going on. So, having the right people around us in that situation, that's a microcosm of it. It's like
Mm,
an object observed changes. It's a scientific study. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. It came out a long time ago.
mm,
We act differently when we know people are watching. It could be a good or a bad thing.
yeah.
And when it comes to this marathon, as it were, in life, I think the biggest trick that I've had to go use is hacking my brain.
Mm,
I've had thoughts of, giving up when I was younger, 16 years old.
mm,
Semicolon is the sign that a lot of people that I know use because they chose not to end their lives
mm.
and to keep going. And I really am proud of everyone who strives to do it every day. This actually might get a little dark here, so
Yeah.
forgive me. I promise
Go
that I'm
there.
going to
Go
pull the
there.
plane up.
That's fine.
Uh, when it really occurred to me, the bravery that everyone must have uh, to just go outside because there are certain constructs that people need. I
Mm,
have my Christianity, to help me resist or fight the urge to do certain things or take that route, ending things when I was younger because I do believe in heaven and hell, and
mm,
that was something that got there. And then the perception of my family and those that I was believing in. Then I started to think a little bit outside of myself
mm.
that they are going through the same struggles that I am,
Right.
and I may be a reason why they're not taking the darker route or going left here and that. And that would keep me holding on for 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, XYZ. Um, Whatever it is that you have to use to believe
Mm-hmm.
in the world around you, not necessarily people, but even just this room. I'm not keeping the ceiling up right now. People go outside. We're not keeping the sky from falling. And this is the part where I say it gets a little dark here.
Mm,
Um, it's an appreciation that once I started to get that, you're all so brave, and we all continue to fall, and there is unfortunately a bittersweet taste when we succeed.
mm,
Some people might believe that crossing the finish line, as it were,
mm-hmm.
and people watching, those same people who helped us cross that line, there could be a degree of resentment towards them for noticing because now we start to think next time we can't fail because we won. But then
Mm.
we forget that it was a million failures that got us across
Right.
that line. This is just going to be a whole lot of uh, recognition of the dichotomy in all of our thinking. We disregard all of our hard work when we win. We think we can't fail again when the truth is 99% of it is failure.
Right. Because
We
failure
for,
is what got us there, right?
and if we really want to get into it, even when we succeeded, we could have succeeded better. So even
Mm-hmm.
that was a failure if we really want to do it. And it's like I have a show. My show is called Practice Makes Perfect, but it's supposed to be in the title is the irony.
Mm.
There's no way to hit perfection. It's
No.
all practice.
Yeah.
Um,
That is the
but it's
journey. That's what you strive for. It's for me, throughout the racing metaphor, what happens on race day really doesn't matter. It's the journey that is what you got you there. It's doing the hard things on the daily basis, putting in that work, showing up for yourself every single day. That's what matters. And to your point, where you were talking about too, about showing up for others because they may be kind of dependent on you too. Um, that weighs heavily on us, right? That can certainly be a tough burden to hold. I myself, having 4 kids now, to take my life would, is it a selfish thing to do? Yeah, I get, like it's that's rough. I think about it all the time. I have a lot of people that are relying on me, but that weighs heavily. That weighs heavily, and it's just not an easy thing to cope with at all times. We are, as men, expected to be strong and and be the providers and all this. That whole archaic way of just thinking, and we don't hurt, we don't feel, we don't
Mm,
have the emotions, it's and then when we show it, it becomes a problem. Yeah, and why that is the case, I don't know. But
mm,
I think what's helped me in this journey is breaking that barrier. Putting myself out there. Knowing that I'm probably going to be judged, but not really caring in the process, because again, this is coming into who I am as a person. I when I was 20 years old, I cared, what people thought, and I acted as so. I wasn't being my genuine self or living my genuine life, and now I feel like I've finally reached a point where okay, I'm willing to just put it out there, and yeah, it could be humiliating at times, it could be nerve wracking, and all this, but it's just a better feeling overall.
yeah.
Manifesting, you kind of touched on that a little bit there. Manifesting, these just this way of thinking, this positive way of thinking, surrounding yourself with others that also have this type of mindset. It could be a cancer, right? To be around some negative people. When you constantly come into the table and you're negative all the time, we know about that in the Discord community and gaming culture, right? There's those types. There's those types everywhere we go. I have them at work. You know what I'm saying? you know.
And you know what? To a degree, speaking for myself, I have that. I have the capability of being that person myself.
Mm,
It's in
mm.
me. It takes work for anything. Yeah.
I
Not-
blur, blur. I'm with you on that one, because
mhm.
there plenty of times I'd be negative on things. Um, but changing that mindset has really been the breakthrough. But we all. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm just 24/7 just thinking positively now. Nah,
Mhm.
hell no. It creeps up on me every day. Those. Like I said during that race, right after that full, just all that negativity, all that doubt, everything flooding that mind, and it's that mental workout within yourself, being able to catch that and say fuck that, don't listen to it, block out that noise, because that's not who you are. You're far more capable, and that's what I mentioned in this week's video. You're far more capable than what you give yourself credit for, and that's you know that will always be the case. It will always be the case. Just like you said before, even when we succeed, we oftentimes will then criticize ourselves again, and say, oh, well, you could do better, you could do this. It's never ending, right? It's never good enough. We strive for perfection, but perfection will never be achieved. um but
You know
no, you got it.
what's um what's mind blowing about that is, and Zero may be able to attest. I'm sure he can, because that just made me think about the state that most people, I believe all of us, but I can't speak for everyone, is in. Understanding that if we strive and we can and get better and do better, but then there's the other side of that where we just want to be good enough right now and
Mm,
not have to, XYZ. We long for a place in a circumstance where it's like, are we accepted? Is
mm-hmm.
there a time or a confidant that I could pour into and then not have it thrown in my face? Or is there any safe space? Can we even be our own safe space? And earlier, a couple minutes ago, you mentioned, keep showing up. And it what came to mind, and I'm just writing it down as it comes, is sometimes showing up, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
is, let's just say there's a day where we don't perform as well as we could, or we get into old habits that used to be our comfort zone, the showing up part can be just acknowledging that fact of what you did, why you did it, what you didn't like about it, why you can understand why you may have reverted to it, but overall, I don't want to be that, da da da. Just taking accountability and having some type of introspection is a million times better than just subconsciously doing something and not taking that moment to ask yourself why. You don't necessarily have to stop, but if you do something without even trying to register it, I think that is the true failure, and it's probably the saddest part about it when it happens.
That introspection is key, man. Right? You have to reflect and hold yourself accountable. If you don't hold yourself accountable, how could you really be trusted or just honest in anything you're doing? You know what I'm saying? And only you will ever know that, right? At the end of the day, it may reflect in your behavior and some of the things you do in life, and people may question your movement, but at the end of the day, you're just lying to yourself, right? You got to hold yourself accountable. It's where the growth occurs. Without accountability, there's no growth. It's a detractor of growth, right? You're going in the complete opposite direction, and again, it's only you're only lying to yourself. It's a terrible place to be, honestly. And it's a terrible way to live in, and I can attest to that as well. It was a lot of those younger years. Kind of wanted to point the finger and just not hold myself accountable. Until really start to self-reflect and really okay, well, what can I do better? How can I be a better friend? A better boyfriend, husband, better father, and just constantly ask, even when you may be in the right, which I found too. I there may be just a situation, whatever, with a friend, coworker, whatever, and I just feel, well, did I do the right thing? Did I not do the right thing? But the fact that you're asking the question and you're entertaining that, it shows that you have good intention, and that you're constantly holding yourself accountable for the betterment, not only for yourself, but to strengthen the relationships around you. I think that's very important too. I don't know if you have any more to touch on that, but
I think that I'm glad we're definitely seeing the common denominator of introspection. You mentioned the people around you, and what I thought when you said that was, without that introspection, just even if we're failing at what we said we're going to do to ourselves and others, and when we bother to say it to around people who we consider to either be peers or people we admire, or whatever combination of love-hate relationship is, so much, we're so complicated as people, it's crazy. But without that introspection, without that accountability, there becomes two personalities that we have to deal with. There's probably so many that we have to deal with on our own, but then the perception that we believe other people have of us, there's that other if the world's a stage kind of thing. So it's without the introspection of the goals you set, and let's just say in the circumstance, with me in the Discord, I've got Weigh-In Wednesday, and I strive to talk about my weight journey and everything like that. When I can just keep it to myself, I don't have to put myself through the anxiety of Wednesday coming up, and then on Tuesday night taking stock of how I barely worked out. I ate like I was working out every day, and now I'm in the Discord and the health thing, and I volunteered myself for this. No one told me to make Weigh-In Wednesday. Boom. I didn't go down any weight. I'm up something and so on. And then the other week you asked, hey, what happened to Weigh-In Wednesday? And I genuinely forgot. I was like, I'm going to weigh in Wednesday night. And I didn't. I was like, thank you for saying something. I knew it wasn't going to be down. I still was at 293. And I was just like, okay, this is it.
Yeah. I was
This
holding
is
you
it.
accountable there. There you go.
Right? And it's like, and if I wasn't, or if one wasn't at all, just trying to put some skin in the game when I make these examples here, if one wasn't at all trying to at least have a conversation with themselves about who they want to be. No one asked me to want this for myself. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to, whatever. It's like, then I would end up having a greater degree of possible resentment towards all of you because of the perception that I am now putting on you and no one asked me to, and my inability to face what I need to do in my own personal reality. If one doesn't see that and actually have a conversation, then everybody else becomes the bad guy. Somehow. It'll end up being all of you that are in the wrong. It's like, what are you talking about? We're just trying to support you, or I haven't said anything good or bad. I don't even care what you do, Ayaden. You put this on my plate, like, and you know, that's why I really think that if we do nothing else, having an honest conversation with ourselves matters, because everything around the world, you will start to be affected by it.
No doubt. And you know, it's a part of why I do my content, because it's really just, you know, it's a matter of holding myself accountable through the good and the bad. You know, it's not always going to be perfect, like you said. You know that weigh-in Wednesday, it may not be a goal that you have in mind, but putting it out there, you know, holding yourself accountable to it, it matters, man. It just matters, you know, like, and it's not always necessary. You know, you almost feel like a burden to others, or, you know, you question whether or not, you know, is there a point to this, or, you know, are people even interested? But those are a lot of stories you're just telling yourself. It really has no merit. You know, at the end of the day, none of it matters. But, you know, I think the impact that what you do with the Weigh-In Wednesdays, it for me, you know, it inspires me. It inspires me. It reminds me to hold myself accountable and say, man, you know, there's somebody out there, you know, being honest, doing his thing, you know, like, and that shit matters, especially in this day and age where there's a lot of fake, you know, stuff going around. So, you know, in the age of social media, you know, you don't know what to believe in. You know, we compare ourselves too easily to other people, and you know, just expect perfection right away and constantly, and it's insane. You know, I'm very much involved with social media, obviously, with the shows and all that, but you know, I really try to get myself away from it as much as possible too. I actually really monitor my screen time on my phone, because, you know, it's also necessary mentally, man, because you could just fall down that rabbit hole of comparing yourself to others and with their journeys. Again, you know, like we spoke at the top of the show, everybody's journey is different. We all start somewhere. You know, my achievement to some others may seem rather pedestrian, you know, and which is wild to think that, but you know, like, you know, but it's true. There's those types of people who say that, you know, you'll have detractors any which way, right?
Right.
You know, and it's a matter of blocking that out and surrounding yourself with those types that are here to just build you up, like this community that we have for ourselves in Shiv Nation. You know, those that are like-minded are certainly welcome, right? And it's, you know, I love you guys. This is what it's about. You need this type of camaraderie, you know, this uplifting movement, because it's hard to do it on our own, man. This human life that we're living is messed up. We're living in some wild times right now. You know? Yeah. And you know, we can find 50 million reasons as just to give up, right? Or like you said at the top, to get complacent, you know, and fall into that trap. It's a slippery slope, my friend. I wanted a reference what Nismo was saying over here. Nismo, thank you for showing up today. Even, getting ready, just, what you say, I forgot I had a Bluetooth speaker in my shower, so I've been listening. But you nailed it with accountability. There can't be growth without it. There's a hurdle for many. Accepting accountability can be very emotional, no doubt about that. We can choose to do or not to do. We can choose to take accountability or not to. Either way, we need to accept that it is our choice. And if we are choosing not to, that is still on us. Even without people reacting or responding or participating, the fact that you do it and you still post about it shows your commitment and dedication, and that is inspirational, and it reminds us why we do things. Hit it on the head, right? Yeah.
That's actually one thing I really appreciate about the Shiv Nation community is, for the most part, and I'm going to say 9 out of 10 people, actually can't even think of the 10 person who isn't what I'm about to say. There is that encouraging energy that we have that I believe we expect from each other, but it's not coddling. It'll be supportive because I believe we see ourselves in each other's victories and failures. But it's also like, okay, well, based off of the conversations we've had, the conversations I've heard you've had with other people, I'm not going to put a flower on a pile of poop and say that it's not poop.
Right.
So I'm not going to kick you, but I'm also not going to baby you because I believe what you said you want to be and who you want to be, striving to be, is something you care about. So if I'm going to be your acquaintance, transforming into a friend, I'm going to hold you. The tone in my voice is going to be, all right, man, you didn't do it this week, or you messed up.
Right.
Get up.
Right.
Keep going. So don't beat yourself up, but don't use this as an excuse not to get back up. I genuinely get that energy and have for almost 10 years now from all of you. And I appreciate the heck out of it. I don't even know who I would be as a person right now if it was not for this community and that very real perspective. Nobody here is perfect. Everybody has made mistakes, but we don't act like we didn't make mistakes. And that matters to me a lot. Yeah.
And that's just such a sign of a true friend, right? Because if you're not doing that as a friend or a spouse, whatever it may be, then you're not being honest to them. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't do any good to coddle. I could see why you feel the need to do it. You don't want to necessarily hurt somebody's feelings, and but again, it's not a matter of it's coming from good intention, and it's to build one up, right? It's constructive criticism is a good thing, Sure, it kind of you may take it a certain way if it's coming from a stranger, online or something like that, and even then, that's something you gotta self-reflect on and understand that, hey, why am I feeling this way? What is going on? But a good friend will hold you accountable, and it should always do that. And you need those people in your life, man. Because otherwise, if you got a lot of yes men and just not really giving it to you straight, right? Exactly. Really, what's the point? I agree with you wholeheartedly. And it's just not the type of energy, that I want at this point in my life, at least, to be, acquaintances like that are nice, but, I think I'm on a different journey, and mainly because it's just, that falls into a hole of complacency that I just don't want to, go back to, because that was the time in my life where I look back and say, I wasn't, living, to my fullest, or just living happily. I mean, for years I was depressed for that reason, but I made a lot of excuses as to why I was in that rabbit hole, whether it be the death of my father, this and that, like, it was always excuse after excuse after excuse, and there was no accountability or no self-reflection going on. And if I look back, there's probably a lot of people that were in my corner at the time that we're kind of on that same path and that same journey, and just yesing me to death. Like, yeah, this is cool, this is good. It wasn't doing anything for me. To make that self-reflection too is really hard. To really cut some ties to some people that you otherwise would think are like your best friends, especially growing up. Sometimes it doesn't always work out, right? I had friends when I was younger that I think I would be friends with for the rest of my life, and for whatever reason our paths went in different directions, and probably for the better. I still may have a lot of love for some people, but in terms of what they did for me mentally, it just may have not been the most healthy relationship, and it's hard to dissect that and to see that at times, especially when it's somebody that you kind of spend a lot of time with, and as a part of life, right? It's like anything. It's just letting go of an old girlfriend or boyfriend, like that. It's just, you may love them, but it just may not be, the right thing or the right person for you at this time.
Yeah.
We are getting close to the end of the show here. Let me see what
I want to say real quick.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So to the point of the people around us letting go and showing up and being accountable for other people. Like there's something to be said for the person that you are meant to be, that you desire to be, and are on your way to becoming. That person is going to be essential to someone else. You don't know what position that's going to put you in.
Right.
The choices you make that allows you to bump into someone on the airport, say 2 words to them, or get you in a 50 marathon race to walk past someone who just fell down and help them up in less than a minute to tell them to keep going. And then it went from mile 8, where they were about to give up, to them finishing the race, the marathon entirely. We are connected. It is not to be underestimated. If you have a drive and a desire to become something, do your best to become it, because it's not just about you. I know that some people don't want to hear that, but there are people who actually need to know that it's bigger than you. How you are and who you treat, what you do when you move around this world, you have no idea the ripples that it could do. Absolutely. And the positive effect it can have. You are worth something. There's a reason why you have that dream in your mind to do it. Take the steps to do it. Let them be a part of your story and be a part of theirs too.
That's a great point, bro. That's a great point. I did want to reference when Nismo in the chat over here. Love it. Love the contribution. Appreciate you. It's a fine line. We don't want to nag. We don't want to push. We don't want to offend. But we also don't want to see people spiral. Being supportive with where they're at specifically and encouraging them to keep heading toward where they want to go without annoying them, essentially. That can be very tricky, and I think that develops with relationships and understanding each other through communicating, and a big part of that is trust. You can save someone's life, and you can also contribute to them taking their own, as dark as that sounds, by a simple word, a simple action, a simple gesture, a simple look. I think it is very important that we all remember that. And it speaks volumes to your point, Aiden, and there's a ripple effect of what you do, you say. It matters. You may not always see it. It may not be always apparent to you, but you got to understand that there is a bigger picture, right? I know that all too well as a parent of 4. Constantly being watched, constantly being dissected, and every action that I have has an equal reaction to it, and it's almost immediate sometimes. You see it. It's a huge constant reminder that, hey, that it doesn't only apply to my kids, that applies to my friendships, just everything. My acquaintances, with anybody that I interact with, the stranger at work that's coming in that, you know, for me, I'm drawing blood on, that's dying of cancer. What I say or do in that moment may dictate their whole day or how it goes about. I got to understand that, you know, everybody's going through something. Everybody's living their own journey, you know, and to be mindful of that. You know, I may be having a bad day, but maybe in that 5-minute interaction I have with that person, I can maybe uplift them and just, you know, be a supporting pillar for them in that moment, despite what I may be going through. You know,
Wow.
this shit matters, man. Nismo says, I've never been so critical of my own actions and behaviors as I've been as a parent. I think that is a huge reality check. Absolutely. And if, as you know, as a fellow parent, if you're not having that reality check, then maybe you got to do a little self-reflection, a little introspection there, because, man, you know, talk about ripple effects. You know, your kids are gonna reap the consequences. It's why, you know, we all have the childhood traumas that we do. You know, I could speak for days on it. You know, it matters. But again, nobody's perfect, right? You know, we're not perfect, and you understand that you are going to fail, even as a parent, as a friend. You're going to make these mistakes, but it's a matter of how you catch yourself and you learn from it. And that's life, man. Aiden, I just want to thank you for coming on the show today, man. I really had a wonderful time discussing everything that we did. I wish I had more time to continue this, and you know, but I know this won't be the last time you come on. If you would like to join me again, I just want to thank you, man. I appreciate it. Any closing comments for the people? You got the floor, bro.
Keep practicing and keep showing up.
That's it, baby. It's a beautiful thing. Nismo, Task, those from the Shiv Nation, I appreciate you. I love you. I hope you have a beautiful mental health Monday and a beautiful week, as always. For those that are watching in post on YouTube, I appreciate you. As always, please like, comment, follow, subscribe, the whole nine. Join me later on this week for another sports show. And check out my guy, Aiden. He's going live later on today. What's the handle on Twitch, Aiden?
Aiden Get Serious.
There you go. All right. Yep. Check him out. Give him a follow. Keep showing up as always. And until next time.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped?
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind. And hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
All right, everybody. Thank you for showing up today. We appreciate you as always. It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio. This is Mental Mondays with Epis. Episode 23, Dream Big and Never Quit on Yourself. Thank you for showing up and have a beautiful week. Talk to you soon.